Welcome to another Cardano update. Like always, make sure to check out our YouTube memberships and our Patreon if you want access to all of our charts and if you want access to our daily Discord updates for only like $5 a month. And let's talk about the short term first. As you can see, you should already know this, but we have a 1-2 setup on the chart, and right now we are still trying to get the third wave move up. The target for that is 75 cents. That's the 200% extension of the 1-2 setup, and well, that's exactly where the 200-day moving average is as well, and that's the blue line on the chart. And in the past we actually used it as support. For example, here we bounced off of it. Of course, we got a wick below it. Even here we had a wick below it, but we got above it. And here, for example, it was used as support multiple times. So right now what we're about to do, in my opinion, is most likely test it and use it as resistance. And the 200% support, well, actually the resistance level for the third wave is exactly where the 200-day moving average is as well. So I think we will get rejected, then we will get a fourth wave move down and a fifth wave move up, and then we could look at some other stuff. But until then, yeah, we're still waiting for a cross on the bull market support band, and this could take another couple of weeks. Now the market is a lot more bullish right now because I think the tariffs have been stopped for about 90 days. So obviously people are bullish, but you have to keep in mind that we could always get another low and maybe test the 0.618 support level again, just because we don't really have anything on the chart to confirm that the low is already in. Now we do have a double bottom, and the double bottom scenario, I have been talking about it for the past couple of months now, and it finally happened. And I think it was spot on, but we could always get another low, and this could just be a big fake out. Keep in mind, we could drop to the 0.786 support level until we get 5 waves up. Now, is that possible? Well, I think it actually is, because if you look at the Ethereum chart, it's not actually looking too good. And like I said many days ago, and even yesterday, it kind of needs to get to the oversold territory on the weekly chart and close a wick there. And until that happens, we might just look at, say a couple of, just say boring weeks and maybe even bearish weeks, because Ethereum kind of has to continue dropping if it wants to get to that level. Right now we are not oversold, meaning that if we do not get to the oversold territory by Sunday and we close the wick there, the next week could also be as bad as this week. So please keep that in mind. We could always go lower. If we got to the 0.786 support level, it does not mean that the low is in. And I told you this multiple times, but we have to get to the oversold territory first, in my opinion. We are already there, almost already there, so I think we kind of need to do it, especially if we want to do what we did here and what we did here after we got to that level. Like I said, here we went up 95% in like 28 days, and here we went up like 62% in 28 days. Also, both of these lows were bear market lows, so please do not forget that. If we do get to the oversold territory, it's only going to be very bullish, and I think Ethereum will still break its all-time highs by the end of this year or by the end of January of next year, like it did in 2018 right here. So yeah, we'll have to wait and see what happens with this, but like I said, we could always get another low, and we could even drop to like $1,000, maybe $1,200 to get to the oversold territory. But I think we are very close to finding a bottom, and I did tell you this a couple of days ago, but I will pick up some Ethereum very soon, just because it's a good buying opportunity, at least in my opinion. Now, do not take that as financial advice. Obviously, I'm not here to give you financial advice, but in my opinion, it's a good time to buy coins when they are in the support zone and when they are going down, not when they are doing stuff like this, for example. So yeah, do what you want. Now, going back to the Cardano chart, if we actually get another low on the Ethereum chart, we could be looking at another low on this chart as well. Now, is that necessary? Well, not really, because if you look at the ADA Ethereum chart, it's actually going up. I think this is the wrong chart, actually. Let me look for the other one. So I think this is the right one. It's actually going up, and it's about to test the trend line. The trend line is at about 5,000 something, and right now we're at 4,000 something. And well, what we need to do in this cycle is basically break above the trend line and break above the 2021 all-time highs, because if ADA does not manage to do that, it will go to zero against Ethereum in the next couple of years. Of course, not in the next 2 years or so, but maybe in the next like 20 years or so, if ADA actually sticks around during that time. as you can see, we are in a big downtrend and we need to break out of this if we want ADA to actually do well against Ethereum in the next couple of years. You know, I mean, some people are still calling it an Ethereum killer, and if that is the case, if it's actually an Ethereum killer, then it needs to prove it, not, you know, by being in a downtrend. So obviously what we need to do is break above this and break above at least 10,000 something, which means that from where we are at right now, ADA will have to go up 2.5x against Ethereum. Is that possible? Well, I think that's actually possible if Ethereum continues dropping and if ADA just holds during that time. Or maybe Ethereum drops, then ADA drops as well, and then when they finally start going up again, ADA starts, you know, overperforming and it goes up more than Ethereum, and then this goes up as well. So what we need to do, like I said, is break above the trend line. This is very, very important. Please do not forget this. Now, I also want to talk about Bitcoin for a second, because here, I mean, this is also very important. I talked about the weekly RSI many times in the past, and as you can see, right now we are back above the trend line, which is good. I told you, I think yesterday or 2 days ago, that if we actually close another weekly wick below the trend line, that could be the sign of a left translated peak, and by the looks of it, we're about to close above it. Now maybe we'll just go down by Sunday, and then we will actually have another close below the weekly, well actually below the trend line on the weekly chart, and if we do, that's gonna be very bearish. But I mean, so far things are looking very good. Bitcoin is at $82,000, and I think it's still possible to get to about $140,000 by the end of May if we continue this pattern. Now, I have not talked about this pattern in quite some time, so let me remind you what Bitcoin is doing. Like I said, the RSI just went to the exact same levels every single time this cycle, so whenever we had a drop, the RSI on the weekly dropped to about 44. Now, why is that important? Because the, you know, RSI level right here is always used as support, and I want to show you what happened when we went down. So when we went down the first time, this was a 25k low, so the low was 25k. The max low right here, it was 50k. Now, do you see where this is going? The low that we have right now was about $75,000. Well, actually, I think, yeah, we actually got the 50% extension. That's exactly at 75k. And then we had a wick up. So this was 25k, this was 50k, and this right here was 75k. Is that a coincidence? Well, maybe it is, but maybe it's not, considering the fact that the RSI went to the exact same levels. And this leads me to believe that Bitcoin will have another low in the future, and I think that low will be 100k. Now, when would it make sense for this low to happen? Well, it would make sense for this to happen during the summer, because Bitcoin usually drops during the summer. I can show you an example. Well, actually, I will show you 3 examples, because so far, I mean, in every single Bitcoin cycle, we had a drop in the summer in the post-halving year. And this, for example, this was a 55% drop in 2022. And here in 2017, I think this was a 38% drop. And in 2013, we had an 80% drop. And all of these drops happened in the summer of the post-halving year, so I think it's likely that we get that drop again in this cycle. And that's why I'm a bit concerned right now, because if we do actually get that drop and Bitcoin is not at $140,000 by the end of May and the summer starts and, you know, the drop starts, we could actually get a left translated peak. So what Bitcoin needs to do right now is do what it did right here or right here. And what did it do? It bounced, and it bounced like crazy. It went up like, I think, about 100% in like 4 months here, and here about 120%. But you have to keep in mind, to get to about $140,000 by the end of May, from this low right here, we would have to go up about 74% or so in about 70 days. Is that possible? Well, it actually is, because here, I mean, not even a couple of months ago, Bitcoin went up about, I think this was 80% in about 2 months. So it's definitely possible for this to happen. And like I said at the beginning of the video, the tariffs have been, you know, stopped until I think July, which means that until July we could actually go up, and then when they finally start again, we could get the 4th wave move down, which will be a summer drop, and that will be the 100k low. And then by the end of the year, or by the end of January of next year, Bitcoin will still get to about $255,000. Now, that has been my prediction since I think January of 2024 or so. I was not making videos back then, but you know, I kind of knew that something like this could happen, and I mean, so far I have been right about a couple of things, of course not about everything, but I think Bitcoin is still in a normal cycle and people are just overreacting right now. I know this is not a Bitcoin video and I know you want me to talk about Cardano, but I mean, there's not much going on. What we need to do right now is get above the moving average on the weekly RSI. As you can see, we got below it like a couple of months ago. Here we tried getting back above it, we got rejected, and right now we are about to test it again if, we actually continue going up or just sideways for the next couple of weeks. And if we do test it and we get rejected, that would be very bearish. However, if we test it and get back above it like we did right here, for example, so if we do something like this and then we go down and test it like here, for example, like I said, we could get a bounce like this, and that bounce could put us at all-time highs, and that could get us the third wave of the third wave that I've been talking about for, I think a year at this point. So yeah, we're still waiting for that. Like I said, the structure is the exact same. You don't have to worry about anything, at least not right now. But if the S&P continues dropping, then we could be looking at a very boring next couple of weeks. However, you have to keep in mind we got to the oversold territory on the weekly, and I talked about this yesterday, but in the past, the S&P, when it got to the oversold territory on the weekly, it got a huge bounce after that. If you want to know more about this, I suggest watching yesterday's video. And well, that's all I have. I hope you enjoyed. If you did, make sure to check out our YouTube memberships and our Patreon if you want access to all of our charts, and if you want access to our daily Discord updates. Like, subscribe, and I will see you in the next one.